Hello, everybody who's here. We're just giving it a couple of minutes, waiting for everybody to come in, and then we'll get started.
Myra, can you please add in now Tutu? We temporarily lost her. And she's trying to get back in. Can you please add in now Tutu? We temporarily lost her. And
Well, she can just come back in, right?
she's trying to get back in. She said something about accepting her. Can you please add in now Tutu? We temporarily lost her.
Well, she can just come back in, right?
And she's trying to get back in.
Hi, everyone. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes. All right. I think we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Good morning and good evening. My name is Nathan, and I am the Grassroots Campaign Coordinator for U.S. Campaign for Burma, or USCB for short. Welcome to our event, Standing in Solidarity, Lifting Up the Displaced Communities in Karen, Kachin, and Mon. Co-sponsored by No Business with Genocide, International Campaign for the Rohingya, and U.S. Campaign for Burma. Burma's displaced population only continues to grow as conflict escalates. Resistance forces are launching the second wave of their offensive operations, and we are seeing the Burmese junta respond with extreme violence, specifically targeting civilians and IDPs for vengeance. A press release earlier this month revealed that in June alone, the junta dropped about 588 bombs during airstrikes and deployed 72 explosives via drones in Karen State's Papuan Township, where KNU operates. Mon State also reported extreme human rights abuses just last month, including arbitrary arrests, killings, indiscriminate shelling, and systematic looting and destruction of property by Burmese junta soldiers. Kachin State itself has faced similar conditions, including months-long disruptions in communication services, only made worse by the severe flooding that recently occurred this month. In fact, just last week, all phone and internet services in Kachin State were cut off and remain down. These conditions have led to the mass displacement of civilians, including Karen, Mon, and Kachin communities. 2024 reports estimate that in Karen State, there are at least 211,100 individuals who have remained displaced since the 2021 coup. In Kachin, there are at least 111,000 people, and in Mon, over 80,000 people. We are honored to have the opportunity today to gain more context on this news and root these numbers into reality, as we are joined by our esteemed panelists who are working directly on the ground in Karen, Mon, and Kachin states. During this moderated discussion, please type your questions into the Q&A box. You can add the name of the speaker or speakers if you want to direct your question to a specific person or multiple individuals. One of our colleagues will be collecting the questions for the Q&A. Now I'd like to take a moment to introduce our speakers. Our first speaker is Nayo Mon. He serves as the program director of the Human Rights Foundation of Monland, or HURFOM, HERFOM for short, and is also a management board member of the Network for Human Rights Documentation Burma, or ND Burma. Since joining HERFOM in June 1999, Nayo Mon has specialized in conducting investigative fact-finding efforts on human rights abuses in the Mon, Karen, and the Nintari regions of Southeast Burma. Additionally, he leads human rights civic education and HERFOM's activities around justice and truth-seeking for future transitional justice in Burma. Unfortunately, today, our second speaker, Go Byon, is unable to join us because of the down internet in Kachin State, but Francis of Rax will be speaking in his place. And Francis is from Kachin State, Burma as well, where he currently works for Asia Justice and Rights, or AJAR Ajar, as a country manager. Since 2011, when fighting resumed between the Burmese junta and the Kachin Independence Army in northern Burma, displacing around 120,000 people, he has dedicated himself to human rights, peace building, and research. Francis used to work with CSOs for many years as a co-founder and director of Humanity Institute and Human Rights and Legal Center. Next up, we have Na Tutu. She's a human rights defender and former program director at Karen Human Rights Group, or KHRG for short. She has over a decade of experience working on promoting and raising awareness for human rights. Na Tutu advocates for the community by projecting their voices to policymakers to ensure the people in Burma achieve full human rights and justice. The U.S. Campaign for Burma Managing Director Karen Ames will be our moderator today. And our staff will be checking for questions in the chat box.
All right, thank you so much, Nay. And again, thank you to our panelists for joining. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join us and you share your information that you have for us today. So let us get started. Nay Alman. I know that Nay, in her introduction, she spoke a little bit about what is happening in Mon States. Can you share an individual IDP's experience in Mon States? How did they become displaced? Some of the personal challenges they faced as an IDP. If they were able to return to their home, or were they forced to resettle in a different part of Mon State? What really resonated in their story with you, and how it has influenced your work at HERFOM?
Thank you. So let me start by sharing the underlying reason for the post-displacement of most of the IDPs we have met. So post-displacements in Mon States and in our target area in southern Karen, northern Peninsula and Mon has been like systematic, abuses and human rights violations by the military funders for decades. Like 40 years plus. So the main reason behind the abuses and the violations has been like mainly they want to control over the ethnic resistance force and their ethnic populations in the target area. That's why whenever we talk about the IDBs, we use the protracted. So it's happening a long time ago. So this issue is kind of even lasting 40, 50 years already. So forced dismemberment is mainly caused by a decade of like abuses, human rights violations, marginalizations, and discrimination against the ethnic minorities. And sometimes it's also linked with the bigger state project like the exploitations of the national resources and land use. So over the past 15 years, we have been recorded and documented about 50,000 to 70,000 population has been displaced because of losing their lands to the foreign direct investments and the state projects. Before 2021 military coup, displacements sometimes result from armed clash between armed groups and the Honda militaries, causing the target, especially targeting the civilians and serious human rights violations by the Honda militaries. And since the coup, Honda forces and some ethnic armed organizations, including the PDF and other revolutionary force, along with their allied armed groups, has been forced many civilians to flee their homes to avoid violence and some offensive targeting to them. So widespread escape to safer regions. We found villages are often destroyed and the local residents are forcibly moved to the area controlled by the EO and NUG's control areas. The violations such as the arbitrary arrests, extrajudicial killings and detentions, and also the air bombings and the indiscriminate artillery attacks mainly drive many to flee in advance. So the recent Honda Force conscription law, you may heard about this, that have launched in February 10th, also drive a lot of young people to flee their homes and family as well. According to our record, at least 5,000 young people in our target areas in Koran, Mon, and Trinidad has been fled to where they believe there is a safer locations. So some of these young people has been reached to the EAO control area, and also some of them contact to us to provide some capacity building activities to protect their community from remote and strengthening their skill and rights for the community engagement. So many of them are young and they are incredibly resistant and proactive, and they do not deserve to be IDPs. So displaced family are often struggle with a lack of basic essentials such as like sufficient food and safe shelters. They live in temporary makeshift accommodations vulnerable to the elements. So access to the healthcare is also restricted in some remote areas, leading to different difficulties in obtaining the medical treatments and increased risks of the disease due to the inadequate situations facilities. Currently, we found also children are facing some malnutritions and in the adult, like a disease like the malaria are continuing to threaten to the health of the IDPs right now. Displaced disrupt education as well, all costs. many of the children has been not able to join school almost 3-4 years already since the coup. Exposure to violence, the loss of loved one, and the spread of the spread uh, contributes to the significant psychological trauma that we found. The constant threat of future violence and instabilities create an extensive sense of fears and uncertainties about their futures. Economic hardship also, of course, like another major challenges that we found, and that many IDP lost their income resources and making it very difficult to provide their families. Currently, we have like an estimate 90,000 IDPs in Mon territory alone. But in southern Karen state in bracket 6 and northern Peninsula in bracket 4, where we have also working, we have another like 150,000 IDPs. So in total, like there's approximately 240 to 250,000 IDPs all of in our target areas. Most IDP has very limited opportunity to return their homes because, like, due to ongoing human rights violation and fresh conflict, many villages have been destroyed completely, and civilians face daily air bombing and artillery attack. Family are having like torn apart, and many of their family members losing, wife, husband, son, and daughter, and children become like orphans, and many suffering from their uh, psychological traumas. So our work at HAFAM is continue to address those challenges by advocating the stakeholder, policymaker, donors, service providers to support the IDPs community as possible as we can. So we aim for a future where IDP can achieve justice, reparations, and meaningful returns to their homes. So this is like we deeply resonate with the resilience and determining of the IDPs. Their story of surviving hardships and the unwavering hope for the better future always inspire our commitment to human rights works and documentations and advocacy works. We also strive to provide some essential support by looking for flexible donors and some individual donor, even though they are small. We try to help them for as much as we can, and then also some are like non-monetary, like non-financial issues, like education, trainings, and awareness raising to the IDP children and IDP young communities. Document their experience and amplifying their voice to bring international attention to their plights. So by that way, we encounter those reinforce the importance of our work in the promoting justice and protections and long-term solutions, including like those reparation, redress, and safety returns for these displaced communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I'm sorry, apologies. Thank you so much, Nayaman. It's really great to hear, of what's happening on the ground, how doing this kind of work really resonated with you. Francis, Nayaman spoke at length about what's happening on ground, and not focusing on a singular story, but more of like a more of the group that has been impacted, the community that's been impacted. And we want to try and get an idea, we hear these numbers every single day of the number of people that are impacted. And we want to give a chance to, truly humanize, the people instead of just seeing them as numbers. Can you share an individual IDP story or experience, or if like Nayaman, if you want to do something a bit more broadly, how do they become displaced? Some of the personal challenges they've faced, have they been forced to resettle? And if any of the stories have resonated with you and influenced your work with RAKS Rex.
Okay, thank you so much, Karen and the team for inviting me. So, as earlier, I think Ne mentioned that Koh Pyong, my successor, uh, is supposed to speak directly, who is directly working the IDP issues and human rights issues on the ground in Kachin State. But unfortunately, he's not able to make it today, this evening, because of internet shutdown. I think almost 2 weeks. Yeah, I think the whole entire Myitkyina, capital city of Kachin State. But I'm also still keep in touch with CSO um, and um, and also RATS, and also as an advisor. So, and I also try to support for the funding and then transactions from Thailand to Kachin State, etc. So from time to time, I also collaborate with their work, yeah, and then with different ways. Yeah, in terms of IDP, the Kachin IDP, as many of us know that the Kachin IDP had been displaced since 2011 after civil war resumes between military junta and Kachin Independence Army, Kachin. So I think more than 11 years, I think around more than 100,000 Kachin IDP has been displaced, including Northern Shan. So and they have no chance to return, and because as we all know, the situation get worse after the coup. And then in short, I think military offensive, I think, and the everywhere, you know, the whole entire Kachin State, especially the strategic city, and then economic hubs like Pagan, Bamor, along the China Kachin land borders area, Kachin Myanmar border areas. So, and then not to mention returning about the old IDPs, the new IDPs, numbers of new IDPs increase. Not just I think that the big city and also like Sambrapum or the big cities across Kachin State. Like many IDP has been displaced newly, and then the old IDP displaced many times. I think like the old IDPs try to return like Namsanyang, Karyang on the way to Lisa, but they couldn't make it because of operations erupted after the coup, and then the offensive from KIA approaching to a city, Waimor city. So they have been displaced, and they try to return to their old villages under the leadership of church leaders. And but then after a few months, they have to come back, then replace several areas. Some they want to we can see nearby that their villages, but they couldn't make it, and then they return to Waimor and then Myitkyina. I don't know, many times they have been displaced. In terms of traumas, I think hugely impact on IDP, because like all IDP, they started a small business in their village, that hoping that they can return back and settle down, but due to the offensive and then the cope, and then getting worse situations, I think not just old IDP, new IDP. So they have been scared, I think here and there, like I think and the whole entire Kachin State, because of offensive also, conducting by KIO and its alliance along the Myanmar borders, and they're approaching to big city, Bamor, Momok, and then several townships. So, and then a lots of needs and then a lots of requirements. I think even after the coup, I think they were less humanitarian support to Kachin IDP because they have been displaced so much, and then donors have to focus on other areas like heartland of Myanmar, Sakai, and other state, Karenni state, and other etc. So I think I think limitation, lots of limitation, humanitarian support, and then newly displaced man, and then all sort of things, and then I think I think CSO for CSO also I think a lot of challenges to support them. First thing might be lack of funding. So like as far as I know that CS for humanitarian organization, they don't have any new donors, after the coup. They just collaborate with the old donors. So those donors also cut off like war food, they cut off, and then they change from cash to food, and then I think amount so limited, and then in terms of the commodity price is skyrocketed, each day, and so difficult to afford to live, and they cannot assess the livelihoods, then humanitarian aid is so limited. I think a lot of like Ali speaker mentioned malnutrition, and then I think I had a lots of people, even they don't have a basic food, not to mention for IDP. I think even for the residents from Michina, I think a lot of them couldn't have a regular meal, and then because they no longer can access, and then no gasolines, for their transportation, and then safety, security, great concerns. So the only place they can take refuge is now Michina. So all the residents from Bommo, Momok, Waimor, they try to flee to Michina, the capital city of Michina. So Michina, I think that will be also the second the questions, flood and then internet shutdown. Maybe later on I can expand more detail about that one. Like in terms of IDP, I think not just I think all IDP, and then my point is like, even the residents, they have to relocate. Some try to relocate to Mandalay, Rangoons. Only the maybe rich people from Pomo and Waimor, maybe a few from Michina try to relocate. Some they try to relocate, and then flee to Thailand or other neighboring countries. So not just because of the community affected by the armed conflict or military offensive, also safety, security, great concerns. Resident from Michina capital city, and then second biggest city Pomo, they try to relocate to Rangoon, and others try to relocate Mandalay and then Thailand. So that kind of thing. I think when we talk about IDPs, I think the whole entire Kachin state, they are looking for safety, security areas, and then also I keep in touch with the CSO, local CSO, some NGO. I think they also want to relocate to Rangoons if their donors or funders agree to relocate, and then they want to go to the Chiang Mai, because it's also very difficult for them to operate their safety, security, and then communication. Everything's getting harder. So even for the humanitarian workers, CSO, I think so much challenges they face in terms of supporting the IDPs. So, and I think for the long term, I think it will be very difficult to survive. Like I also heard, it's not unconfirmed rumors, under the leadership of church leaders, the residents of the Michina capital city also planning to relocate outside Myitkyina. Hearing that there might be military offensive by the KIA and its alliance in Myitkyina, Northern Command. So that kind of situations I think people are facing in general. So I think in terms of RACs, I think too much to be done, and then there are also limited fundings, and then for the humanitarian workers, CSO workers, they don't feel safe, and then they are looking for safer place to relocate in the future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis, for sharing what's happening on the ground in Kachin State. Now, due to, we've heard both from Naelma and Francis. I'd like to pose a similar question for you. From your years of work, what of the IDP experience has resonated with you, how it has influenced your work, and can you share, personal challenges they face, and if individuals who are forced to flee their homes, if they're able to return home or forced to resettle. Thank you.
Hi everyone, greeting from Taiwan border, and thanks for the event organizer inviting me to share the IDP situation from current state. And I have been involved in humanitarian support since the coup in current state. In current state, we all know that it's been more than 3 years. Now the human rights situations in Myanmar had deteriorated at the hand of the SCC, and their military forces leading to a full blowdown the human right and humanitarian crisis. So the SCC is the root cause of the current human rights and humanitarian crisis. We all know that, and in current state, like other conflict-affected areas like other ethnic areas, civilians have been subjected to massive airstrikes, indiscriminate shellings, threat of violence, and other abuse. So IDP experience those human rights violations, and they could not return. Some of the large displacements have resulted from, like I mentioned, from airstrikes and ongoing conflict. And according to KPS and recent briefing paper, the current total numbers of IDP in current state alone is 1.2 million IDPs. The update is last June. Especially in current KNU control areas, out of 7 districts, 3 districts, especially District 5 and District 2 and District 4, the recent fightings and massive displaced people increased a lot. Some have been displaced for 3 years, and some are many months. Others have endured repeated displacements with little time to prepare as military offenses continue and spread or current state. And in these situations, women are particularly affected by displacement and its impact. Some may be carrying off their children and also forced to displace with infants and their newborns. So when I contact them, as I involved in humanitarian support, emergency support, with the other local organization here at the Thai-Burma border, when I asked them, have you ever been to return to your villages? They said that we dare not to return due to unexpected fighting and airstrikes and drone, shelling the bones. They dare not to return. But this, however, they said that men, especially their household member, especially men, they want to return and to check their village situations, their livelihood, and how their village is, how their village look like, whether the whole village were burned down or destroyed by the shellings. They said that one man returned, they could not stay at the village because of the risks for landmine and as well as the fighting. So they just go back and check their village, and the resistance force, they warn them that, oh, you should not come back and stay in in your village because of the, and the, how to say, lack of protections or unexpected fighting might happen anytime. So villagers dare not to go back. They stay in the IDP sites, especially District 6. There's IDP site that relocated since especially Lekiko fighting happening in 2021 in December. So there's few IDP sites there. And now the situation in July, especially flooding in the area, some IDP household, they have to move to other IDP site. They don't have a chance or opportunity to return to their village or other safe place. When I ask how do you feel because of an expected fighting might happen and shelling indiscriminate shellings, because SSC troops, they are indiscriminate targeted civilians objects protection place like a church, school, and monasteries. So how you guys receive protections or warning? They reply me that they don't receive a warning. When they heard the shelling sound, they just ran to near the forest or cave, especially in District 5, we call Mutro District, Papon District, and District 6, especially Thai Burma border here, they have IDP site, and they just run near to the river bank. But now it's flooding, so how you run to the river bank close to the Thailand? They said that we don't have any place to run because of flooding. So they face so many challenges at the moment, especially June, July, because of the heavy rainings. They said that our toilets underwater, and flu and other malaria outbreak in IDP areas. And local health organizations, they have to move the healthcare facility to other places, but it's difficult to access to the healthcare. And I ask when I ask them how about women and children in that situation, they said that women and children are vulnerable situations because now floodings, school are closed down. Parents, they dare not to send their children to school because of the fear of flooding and other unexpected risks that might associate with their children. And also women, especially pregnant women and with the newborns, they face so many challenges during this particular time, especially rainy season. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now Tutu, I would like to move on to now Aman. Now, you talked quite a bit when you were talking about the IDP experience, the personal challenges that they faced as an IDP. Can you talk a bit more about what kind of programs are available to the displaced community from HERFAM and other local CSOs? And what kind of services are available to help support the IDPs? And do you see much involvement from the international community or larger organizations or even some of the private donors, if there are any?
Thank you. So like from HERFAM, mainly as the human rights documentation and advocacy. So we, apart from our main work, we also trying to collect the information as possible as we can in our targeted area, especially in the 10 township in Mon States and 3 township in Kachin State and another 4 township in northern sanitary area. So mainly information sharing to the service provider groups, to the agencies, and to the international communities who want to support the IDPs and these displaced populations. So among these, we also have some capacity buildings to the targeted the young communities inside the IDP resettlement sites and camps and also in the village that already exist in the IDP areas. In terms of like capacity buildings, even like English language course and also like kind of like the organizational developments trainings like human rights documentations and report writing trainings, those kind of skills has been like conducted among these communities since the coup. And even before the coup, we have like some capacity buildings and awareness raisings to targeted communities, to the women and to the young people, and as well as to the other IDPs communities. The other thing is that we're trying to link with the international donors and the service providers, as well as from the inside the country and also in the region and internationals, to provide the information from the grounds, particularly the challenges that they face in the areas that we are documenting. Like in order to explain, right now there's a lot of flooding happening in the IDP areas and also in the Mon State. So we are collecting the data and information for the flooding affected communities and trying to assist as possible as we can right now. So in terms of this case, we are trying to provide some right information to the targeted communities and the donors immediately. And also for those who has been like attacked by the airstrike and the artillery shells, we're trying to reach out as possible as we can to the targeted communities, to the affected community, and trying to release the information to make sure their voice to be heard. So like several programs and several like activities that we are currently focusing on apart from our main documentation work.
Thank you so much, Nayam. I'm
Thanks,
seeing
yeah.
a theme here with the flooding, the armed conflict, and the impacts from both on the displaced community. Moving on to you, Francis, you mentioned the flooding in Kachin State, the impacts on the displaced community. Can you speak a bit more to the flooding, how it has affected access to supplies, providing supplies to the displaced community? You also mentioned the possibility of relocations for CSOs, and how will that look for providing support to the displaced communities in Kachin State? How will that look for like the overall work that you do and other local CSOs do?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Yes, the newly displaced people had been hugely impacted by the flood because they were relocated to the nearby river, the ALT River, and across Michina, Waimo Township. So their camps, all the shelters had been destroyed by the flood. And then, of course, all their properties, the food and the ration, I think they lost everything. And that because of the heavy flood along the rivers, and the camps that are located along the rivers, and then in terms of support, I think the local people, local community, church community, and then local business people, and then some philanthropists, the groups, they try to support the rights and basic food to the community affected by the flood. Yeah, and then some diasporas, I think, also supported to affected community. But in terms of, I think, rehabilitations, everything, I think a lots of the people, residents along the rivers and then lower areas, I think more than 12 quarters in terms of the places. I think most of the areas were affected by the flood, and then especially the resident, those who live nearby the rivers, they lost their houses and everything. Then it's very difficult for them to rebuild their life and then start their lives, that kind of thing. That in terms of the housings, everything's, I think they lost might be so difficult to start their life in this situation, because everything's so expensive. And also there's no, I think, materials, even we have a money, are very difficult to buy. So I think lack of medicine, lack of infrastructure, lack of transportation, everything cut off. So much challenges. I think not just that the capital city areas, and also like Pomo, I think along the big city, second biggest city towns in Kachin state, those IDPs reside that place also affected. Yeah. And yeah, lots of people try to relocate, but I mean, like some CSO are also thinking to relocate, and then because of their safety security, great concerns, and also very difficult to operate. I think not able to access internet or phone, even the phone, and then maybe most importantly, is, I think, difficult to operate there, and lots of I think the challenges, city security. If they relocate, then I think very difficult for them. Also, it's a big dilemma, because most of the CSO or humanitarian workers, they just operate on the ground. Then if they relocate to somewhere, to Rangoon or other areas, then very difficult for them to implement their projects to support the IDPs or community affected by the conflicts. Yeah, so it's also very challenging. Some CSO also try to think other options to relocate to liberated area. Then they can stay access internet or phone, maybe physically China phone. US is very far, Western is very far from us, so we have to rely on Chinese internet's phone in order to continue their work. So that's maybe also another options, moving or relocating to liberated areas. I think then they can stay work, that's but somehow some CS also think for the long terms, for the long term interest, because they also have a family members, because school shut down, and then even the school is running, but there's no lack of teachers, no facilities, and the quality in terms of educations, and then safety security of their children. No one knows when there might be the offensive in the big city, that kind of lots of worrisome and uncertainty in the future. So I think CSO and NGO humanitarian workers, they also get lost. I think how to do, what to do, how to decide, what to decide in terms of relocations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis. I do want to take a moment right now just to remind our audience members to, post into the Q&A box if you have any questions for the upcoming Q&A. I'll move to you now, Tutu, and then we'll go into Q&A. So now, Tutu, you talked a little bit about, the escalating attacks, the violence committed on the people in Karen State. Can you speak more about the intense situation that we've seen in July and, the kinds of attacks that are really prevalent that we are seeing in Karen State in comparison to other places? And then how are the displaced communities handling this? And if this violence is impacting the delivery of supplies, the aid, can you speak a bit more to this?
Sure. And the escalating attack in current state, especially like I mentioned before, three districts, Papua, we call Mudro District, District 5, and also District 4 and District 2 increase IDP a lot. So the situations, the fighting, especially now as it's military, they use drone. Yeah, sometimes jet fighters. Villagers said that they do not hear jet fighter jet sound and the airplane sound, but and especially immediately they hear the shelling. So there is not much time for them for prepare and also prevent this violence. So most of the IDP, especially in District 5, they have to stay in the forest, especially inside the cave, to prevent from the shelling. So last month, from my place, I can hear the big sound, shellings. The shelling is too loud. Them my house, the roof is shaking. So I thought that this kind of big sound, the shelling sound, it could be from jet fighters. But the villagers give me information that they don't see any jet fighters like before. According to the news source, most of the shelling, indiscriminate shellings is happening from drones. So as is military use the tactics, they use drone targeted civilian areas, widespread attack in many places in current states. So for IDP, it's not easy for them to get to receive warning because of the communication cut off and many internet and signal lost in many areas in current states. So these situations also impact to the especially CBOCSO who are delivering humanitarian support. Because of flooding and on top of the shellings and fighting situations, the risk that they have to take is so big, so much for them. So when I asked about the humanitarian delivery process, especially June, July, because of flooding everywhere in current state, they said IDPs replied me that, oh, we didn't receive humanitarian support like food rations that we're supposed to receive because it's the end of the month. The last week of the month we used to receive food, but until now we didn't see it's coming. But other IDP from other places, because the situations, the impact is different from different places. Some IDP reply me that told me that when I asked the humanitarian support in this difficult situation, they said that, oh, we used to receive food for 2 to 3 months. For this flooding situation is not have a big impact. So the situation is different. For example, some CBOCSO, they keep the humanitarian support items, food in one plate. And then when they deliver, they deliver for 2 to 3 months. supplies for the IDP. So in the flooding situation, it's not impact much. But other areas, due to the travel situations and the risk involved, so the impact is different from place to place. Anyways, most of the situations that IDP locations in current state, they face less or more difficult because of the flooding situations that happening in July this month. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Now Tutu. I would like to move into Q&A, and this question is pretty relevant to all three of you. You all spoke at length about the flooding situation in each state, the impacts on the displaced community, and the limited or no access to humanitarian aid. We've also been hearing on our side, news of contagious outbreaks of different illnesses in IDP camps. Now Tutu, you spoke a little bit on this. So the question is, can you share more on the current medical and health conditions for IDPs in the camps they are living in, especially since we're seeing outbreaks of malaria, skin diseases, diarrhea, dysentery, and this is all in different areas of the country. So it might be different within each of your states. In addition to that, can you also talk about how the limited and no aid for displaced communities, how it is impacting this already compounded issue, and what resources and support do you need to tackle these medical issues that are coming up in the camps? Now, Tutu, since you spoke a little bit in your own discussion, why don't we start with you, and then we'll move on to Francis and then Nayamon.
Sorry, I should explain now.
Yes, please.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
When I asked the local health worker in the IDP site who are medic, it said that, oh my God, the malaria outbreak is so severe in the camps because of the situation, the flooding, especially in current state, malaria disease usually spread, especially in rainy season. But now in IDP's site, they are more vulnerable because of the, and especially, how to say, not enough medical supply and also medicine that can, distribute to the each camps because of the flooding situation. And then when they show me the picture, their clinic is underwater. So it's create more vulnerable or more impact on the patients, malaria patients, to receive medicine on time. They said that the malaria type is so severe. They said that they call PF, which is the most serious type of the malaria. It's not an ordinary one. So that type of malaria, they said that if you don't receive medicine on time, it's dangerous for the people, to get treatments. So yeah, this situation made us very worried, and a humanitarian organization, especially healthcare provider, they also face a lot of how to say difficulty and challenges to deliver the healthcare equipment and also medicine on time. Not only flooding situation, but also the fighting is escalated everywhere in current state. So this added more challenging situation for the healthcare workers, and also more dangerous for the IDP who could not access healthcare service provider easily like ordinary people. Thank you.
Thank you, Natutu. Francis, would you like to add into this conversation?
Yes, in terms of healthcare service, I think RAT's team also try to provide mobile services, but very limited. Then and also lots of restrictions. We are not allowed to carry medicines or food or everything. And then when we did the report sharing section with the team, I think very few areas the team can reach out. And also this is also the rainy seasons, all the landslides, and then blockage, block the roads, blockage, and then of course military restrictions, one checkpoint to another. And plus, I think medicines, I think also lacking, and then I think shortage of medicines, and then shortage of medical doctors. I think not to mention for IDP, I think in terms of seasonal flus and then also diarrhea right after the floods, I think spreading the whole entire the camps and then the community. And I think even for the residents, I think capital city residents, I think so difficult to assess. I think medicines and also to check with the doctors. I think the ratios maybe one doctors and then maybe thousands of kid, especially kid, and then not enough medicines and also difficult to assess. And then for the IDPs, difficult to travel and then safety, security. I think the fightings it's ongoing everywhere for them to come to the city, to go to the cities. I think also very difficult for them, especially I think the IDP those who live in the forest, for many months, and the malnutrition. I think a lots of seasonal flu as well as malaria, like particularly like Semprabum, Putao, that area, I think Tangja, that area, IDPs, I think all the roads, I think on the way to Putao, landslides, I think destroyed, totally destroyed. I think the car, I think some of us had since I think the on social media, I think the totally cut off, I think, and then difficult to do transportation, and also from time to time military block the car, to go to Subrabum, Butau to the north, and then so not able to assess, and then impact, I think mental impact, I think like Kachin IDP has been displaced more than 1 decade. I think they were hoping to return, but right after the COP, more challenges, and then cut off the humanitarian aid. I think WFP also cut off, and then less funding for humanitarian workers, because like donors also have to prioritize other areas across Myanmar. Kachin IDP has been forgotten, and it's also too long for them. And then impact, I think, even before the COP, too much already for them, like mental health, psychosocial, everything. I think lots of domestic violence, and then I think some human trafficking to China, neighboring countries, even to Thailand, I think, and then very unsafe migrations to China, and then to other countries, to Thailand. I think a lots of I think modern slavery or forced prostitution, not that kind of things. I think especially the underage school drop, numbers of school drop increase, and then some I think work for prostitutions, numbers of ascension, like mining area, Pakan, Ranguns, Mandalay. Yeah, I think that's huge impacts after more than decades displacements of Kachin IDPs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis. Naoman, did you have any further thoughts? Okay.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks for the question as well. And also, like two of my colleagues already mentioned about the healthcare problems that facing and threatening the IDPs IDPs communities in all areas. That's quite similar to that what is happening in the southeastern Mon States and the southern Burma as well. Mainly the malaria is significant have concerns for the IDPs, and particularly in remote and in the mountain areas. And also it's also in not only impact to the IDP but also to the revolutionary force that we know this, and a lot of like the armed forces members are also suffering for those malaria cases, and that they have vulnerability to these diseases as well. And also over the last 3 months, 2 months, 2.5 months, like dengue fever is also threatening the children in the IDP camps. At least 6 camps in the Yebu township of the Y district, and also another 4 camps in the Mon area that's controlled by the numismatic body AD. So those are that we know this, and also the assistance and the service providing is lack of like a, as we mentioned, lack of like a materials and support has been facing in this area. And also this also linked with the same issue that is the kind of some kind of like full cat campaigns and things, because like the service providers and the people who are providing this assistance could not able to travel like before, especially like in terms of even the communication. Like now the Honduras military is cutting off a lot of informations and communications, and also civilians like watching the and listening the communications within the system of the communication by using the high techs and technicians. The thing like like we have never talked about the IP blogging, or like a like a VPN blogging in the past. Now that is happening in this area of like southern Burma. I believe everywhere in across the country that's have been facing like the VPN block that block all these communications and device, and like trying to watchdog the communication through these techniques. They are investing a lot of those things. So many people criticizing the Honda military has been arrested, and like has been detained, and then some has been released by paying a lot of money. So like, and at the same time, their transportation as well. In terms of the transportation, there has been like a lot of like restrictions to the transporting like rice and supply. My colleagues Francis also mentioned about that a lot. And even like like right now on the ground, like even 3 bags of rice can lead to accumulation of the supporting PDF, and resulting torture, arrest, and even death. So these are happening on the ground because of those food and other item blockage. This is challenging for the humanitarian aid groups and service providers for the CSO, CBO, and even the UN agencies, cluster groups. So the Hondas like is trying to confiscating and threatening to the aid workers, make it very dangerous for like these people to operate. And the other thing is about the financial things. Normally we are using like most service providers are also using the unofficial money transfer like Hundi service, right? Now this Hundi service across the region are also being targeted, because many people are there's finding there's only possible way to like to get the money from abroad, and trying to implement to transform funding to the targeted community, right? And because of the inflation and instability of the Nimajiat, and also because of the unethical practice and the lack of security in bank, people avoid using the bank that controlled by the Honduras, make it impossible to sometimes purchase food and supplies for like IDP within the country. So can you imagine like even when we withdraw 500,000 kyats they ask a lot of like they demand a lot of explanations for like transitions, inspect a lot of questions. So if we like withdraw the money, the Mimaja that equivalent to $50,000, what will happen? It's a lot of challenges right now happening to purchase the things and equipments for those IDBs. So this is happening a lot on the ground across our targeted area. So it seemed to me like the situation is likely to increase the like that kind of challenges on the ground for the implementation groups and uh, for the IDBs service providers. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Naoman. It really goes to show that it's not just armed conflict that is impacting that displaced community, but many, many factors, including weather and flooding. And it really all comes into a really difficult situation in providing the aid, providing the medical care to these impacted and vulnerable people. Unfortunately, we've gone past the 1 hour mark, and I do have to close out the Q&A round, but I do appreciate everyone that submitted questions. I do want to close out this event with final thoughts from our speakers. And the question is, what is one recommendation for individuals to get involved? What is one recommendation that you have for organizations that are working on Burma? And then, while there are many, many recommendations for the international community and its leaders, what is one recommendation that you want to really highlight for today's event? And now, Tutu, would you like to start for us? And then again, we'll go to Francis and then Naoman. Thank you.
Thanks, Clarence. Like you all know that we have so many recommendations. At the moment, I mean, current situations in the international level, we all see that so many crises around the world, but it is important that Myanmar crisis should not be forgotten. So because the people of Myanmar have been suffering for so long. Like I said, so many recommendations that we might individual panelists have, but I would like to highlight the most important one or two recommendations is the international community because of the insufficiency or maybe little attention to the Myanmar crisis, the ongoing crisis is getting worse and worse. So I would like to request the international community must put effort to hold the military accountable by enhancing targeted sanctions on military leaders, as well as on the jet fuel and weapons to stop the continuing war crimes being committed in civilian areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis.
Yes, yeah, and so we need everyone's support, and then I would like to request every individual, each and all, keep supporting us, whatever with prayer or remember us, because like even for the basic foods, for people from Myanmar, lots of, I think, 40% populations live under poverty, less than $1 a day. So I think, and also because of inflation getting harder. So remember all the people from Myanmar, and then organizations keep advocating for the Myanmar, for the people, justice, accountability, human rights issue to stop all the atrocity crimes that are committed by military gender, and collaborate the CSO, CBO community leaders, those who work on the ground. So continuously support those committed CSO leaders or community leaders or CSO CBO organizations. Yeah. And then for the international community, I think similar ones like Siama mentioned. I think cut off the resources, and that military agendas they assess. and because they can stay access those resources, from by collaborating with other neighboring countries, Southeast Asia country member, maybe neighboring country, India, China, Russia, and then should cut off all the resources that they can stay access, and then hold accountable all the perpetrators. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Francis. Naoman?
Yes, thank you. For the individual, I would like to encourage to those who want to support the Burma IDPs and the Burmese people and people in Burma. That's like, please start with the existing skill and resources that they already have. For instance, like I'm a human rights worker, so I may not be able to support financial support, but I can advocate for their rights, right? Seeking the justice and amplifying their voice. So like the same thing, like those who live in the free country can use their freedoms to have in various ways, such as like by getting involved with the foundation that is supporting Burmese IDPs and people, making donations as possible as they can, and volunteering, raising awareness and advocacy for their government to pressure policy change for the IDPs in Burma. Either way, they can help a lot, I think. For the organization that is focusing on the Burma issue, I think they please have educate or donate the donor or like advocate the donors to directly support trust or local frontline humanitarian responder in delivery much needed aid to displaced community through the local-led cross-border channels, please. We are calling this kind of call maybe 2,000 times already. So we want to call that please directly support these communities by cross-border channels. And for the international communities, please advocate for like cutting all ties with the military Honduras immediately and stop giving them any false legitimacies, including those international and regional forums. Recognize them. The military Honda is responsible for all the current human rights violations and humanitarian crisis, and do not legitimate them by signing any agreement or presenting credential to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing the information that you did today. To all of our panelists for taking the time out of your evening. We really appreciate you, really highlighting what's happening on the ground. Now, as we wrap up, I'd like to hand this over to Nate for closing. Again, thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to echo those sentiments and say thank you so much, everyone, for an insightful discussion. To our inspiring speakers, we deeply appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join this event and share your expertise and all these updates and information from the ground. And a thank you to Karen for moderating the event as well. We would also like to thank all of you, our audience, for your attention and sharing your meaningful thoughts and questions. From what we've heard, it is clear the IDP population in Burma is in dire need of support. As fighting intensifies, the military's four-cut strategies have returned to most states and regions, designed to cut off food sources, funds, information, and recruits, severely impacting civilians' livelihoods. The testimonies shared today from displaced communities highlight the heartbreaking struggles that IDPs in Burma face, but also spotlight the hard work being done by groups on the ground to provide support. Local and international humanitarian aid needs to be delivered through these groups to ensure direct and targeted assistance to communities most in need. It is a fact that the Burmese junta continues to obstruct aid and assistance to vulnerable populations, and we cannot continue to legitimize them through collaboration. Our speakers have shared several recommendations for both individuals and organizations on how to get involved, and we encourage you to reach out to any of the groups here today to engage in these efforts. You can visit each of our websites and other online platforms to learn more about our work. U.S. Campaign for Burma also provides advocacy training courses that can help you along your advocacy journey. Please reach out for more information if you are interested. Finally, please stay on the lookout for our next event in this displacement series, as well as the Rohingya commemoration coming up in August. Thank you so much again.